Hi. Part 2 of the Disruption of Modernity. Just some of my thoughts and putting together some of the themes that I've been sharing and preaching around these few months running up to this global corona pandemic crisis. And the disruption of modernity, in part 1 we just had a look that modernity, 4 aspects of modernity could be summed up as being go where you like, do what you like, say what you like, and believe what you like. And as you know, if you watched the first episode, I had a song in my head all the way through the last really 6 months of last year, and that song was Jesus is the Answer. But what I want to do now is to look with you just at 4 problems of a generation, 4 challenges facing a generation. And again, I was sharing these, and here they are. They're challenges that I believe that are to some extent a direct result of the generation that can do what it likes, go where it likes, say what it likes, and believe what it likes. Let's have a quick look. And again, I'm indebted to some of the teaching that I've listened to. And if you haven't listened to This Cultural Moment with John Mark Comer and Mark Sayers, I encourage you to do so, because it certainly inspired and helped me to understand some of the things that are going on in our world. But let's just have a look at 4 challenges of a generation. One of them is this: choice anxiety. Now, interesting, of course, because now we find ourselves that our choices have been seriously limited by this disruption that we're all experiencing. So we have choice anxiety. I've been saying for some time that when I went to school, leaving school and going to university, it felt as though there were only 12, 20 university courses. Now it feels as though there are hundreds of different career opportunities, so many choices. And I sometimes meet people who are very, very talented, but they are stuck. And here's what happens. Choice anxiety, it actually results in people being paralyzed and stuck. They're afraid to make a choice. And it's because by and large they're believing a lie. And that lie is that you can make the wrong choice. And honestly, I believe that when we're in relationship with God, that we can't. And here's the thing, even if we do, He's Redeemer. And He will take our choices that might not have been the best, and He'll redeem them. So we have a generation that some suffer from choice anxiety, and therefore they're stuck, and they can be stuck in some sort of a rut. Or we have a commitment phobia, a fear of making a commitment. Somewhere I think there's this feeling that there might be something better coming on behind, and this kind of lack of making commitments, and this results in a generation who are running from one thing to the other. So we have some who are paralyzed, some who are running from one thing to the other, and then we have loss of purpose, again related to these two to some extent. I also think related to the fact that it seems that there are people out there who found their purpose, and that actually we're teaching so much and so clearly about destiny and purpose that it accentuates for some the feeling of a loss of purpose. And one of the problems here that this has caused is a sort of a low grade anxiety, that feeling of a cloud hovering just above your head, of life not being quite what it should be, and that degree of depression. And to be honest, we've also seen, haven't we, in recent years, I think a lot to do with Princes William and Harry have been a part of it in this country, but all over the world we're seeing much more attention being paid, and rightly so, to mental health and mental illness. And as a former psychiatric nurse, I'm pleased to see that, and I'm pleased to see that the stigma is gradually being removed. So we've got a choice anxiety culture, a commitment phobia culture, a loss of purpose culture. And then we got an interesting one, which I didn't even know was a thing until last year, but the fear of missing out. And I think that a lot of this is the social media world, that it's every day you can look and you can see that someone else seems to be living a better life than you, has a better house than you, better job than you, more exciting friends than you, go to more exciting places than you. And so we end up with people, I would suggest, who are living a lie on the internet. These four elements: commitment phobia, choice anxiety, fear of missing out, loss of purpose, and resulting in some who are paralyzed, who are stuck, who are afraid of making a choice, some who are running from one thing to the next. And I'm sure we can see that in church life, and we can probably see it in relationships and in jobs and in careers. And of course, it's an easier world to do that in as well. And then we've got the loss of purpose with this low grade anxiety, this depression hovering over the back of our heads, and then a fear of missing out. So again here, what I'm doing is linking this in to the disruption of modernity, because, you know, our choices have been severely limited recently. The whole area of commitment phobia, everything is a little bit up in the air in that area even, and the loss of purpose. Well, you know, we've all been reduced, or much of the world has been reduced to isolation. And it's interesting as well here that we've now discovered that some of the most essential people in our world don't necessarily have jobs that we would previously have thought were the most exciting. Say thank you to the people working on the checkouts, the delivery people, the people emptying your rubbish or trash bins at the end of your path. Haven't we discovered that some of these people are the most essential people in our world? So there's a lot of challenges there, and the fear of missing out. Maybe your social media pages is filled with similar things to mine, and it doesn't feel quite the same thing going on. But hey, remember, Jesus is the answer. And just briefly, because I might be touching on something here that is affecting you or has affected you. Choice anxiety. Jesus is the answer. Let me tell you that. And where I've gone for that is, choose you this day whom you will serve. That choice, that one choice, I can honestly say this in my life, my one choice for Jesus actually led me to the church where I would meet Sue, who would become my wife, and that every choice that I have made since then goes back to that one choice. Choose you this day who you will serve. Get that one choice absolutely clear. Maybe it isn't that clear for you today. Maybe you're hovering. Maybe there are some questions going on. I want to encourage you. Jesus is the answer. And then for commitment phobia, you know, a couple of places I go, the psalmist and of course Proverbs, commit your ways unto the Lord. Commit your ways unto the Lord, and he will direct your paths. You know, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him. And really, this is an absolute key. Let's get these two things. Choose Jesus, commit yourself to him and his ways. And you won't be disappointed. Jesus really is the answer, no question about it. And then loss of purpose, Jeremiah 29:11. And actually, I've been talking a little bit about this in the middle of this crisis, because one of the things I felt to do was to look at what the prophets spoke into captivity and what the psalmist sung, as it were, on the way out. And in particular, Psalm 126, a psalm of ascent, the psalm of coming out of exile. And what Jeremiah spoke in Jeremiah 29, he actually spoke into captivity. He said, have a life, plant gardens, have a life. Really, really important advice for us even right now. But he said in verse 29:11, Jeremiah said this: the Lord has plans and a purpose for you, plans to give you a hope and a future. That trusting in him, Jesus really is the answer to these challenges of a generation, no question about it. And then the fear of missing out. I've applied a prayer that I've prayed for many people. I can almost see myself praying it over close friends of mine. I've called it the don't pass me by prayer. Answer the don't pass me by prayer of my friends, because what happened was that the blind man hears that Jesus is coming into town and he shouts out, Son of David, don't pass me by. And Jesus said, bring him to me. And they brought the man to Jesus, and Jesus said words that almost seem funny. He says to a blind man, "What can I do for you?" We need to tell Jesus what he can do for us. And of course, the man received his sight. The "don't pass me by" prayer. I believe that all of us need to believe that he doesn't pass us by. And so here we are, some challenges of a generation. These were definitely pre-corona crisis, and I'm sure they are still here in the corona crisis. But corona's been a great leveler, and it's brought us all. We walk down roads with very wealthy people. We're all in the same place. It doesn't matter what car you drive. You can't drive it at the moment. It's just a reality. So the great leveler has challenged some of these challenges of a generation. So I just want to encourage you. Jesus really is the answer. Find the Andre Crouch song. He's the answer to your fear of making the wrong choice. He's your answer to, well, what if I commit to this today and there's something better comes along tomorrow? He's the answer to that loss of purpose. You actually may today be finding purpose in the midst of this crisis, doing something very mundane. But Jesus, of course, said he came to serve and not to be served. I'm not saying that we shouldn't pursue our dreams, which is something else we should do in captivity, is dream. But purpose, something's happening. There is a great leveling that's happening. And our most valued people in our world today are the people delivering stuff, are the people who are stacking shelves in stores, and of course are our wonderful healthcare professionals. And the fear of missing out, living a lie, Jesus is the answer, and he will answer the "don't pass me by" prayer of your life.